Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. Welcome to the show, y'all. All right, y'all. David is the nine. David is the nine. Now, Benny and Tony, they got some hold time coming up. They've been put in the rack. And 3 minutes was hard for them because they hadn't faced anything like that in a while. They've been on top for so long, they never had to worry about anything like that going down. But now they've been humbled. They're at the bottom of the pile. They can't even hold a position for another year at minimum, no matter what. No matter what. They got caught getting high. That's the penalty you pay. You're not allowed to use addictive drugs in the org. That's the business. No big eyes and little U's. Everybody got to deal with it. Everybody gets the same punishment. That's not true in all cases, but it was in this one. Now, here's the thing, though. Benny and Tony know that David is going to be a problem for them because they know how they did him, and now he doesn't have to worry about that. He has control over the org. The family loves him. He's been breaking bread, and now he's in a situation where he can do this on a scale that Benny and Tony wanted to do, but see, they're jealous. Remember, one of the things that I said to you about why brothers do stuff like this is because they want control. They want to be able to control the other individuals. It's not just about the money. It's about the control and what they can do with it, right? How they get people to look to them as if they are smarter than everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Know how to organize and do things better than everybody else. They've been stripped of that. Their self-worth, all that they thought they were, is gone. They are OSMs. That's it. They are not POAs anymore. OSMs, outstanding members. That's it. And they got a red mark on them because they played games. They enforced rules on people that they wasn't even following. So now they see David as a threat. David doesn't see them as the threat that they were, but he's not stupid. He's not taking his eyes off of them. He's not. So at the end of the day, here's what's going to happen. David is paying attention to them. And he's gone to them. He let them know in private. He said, look, don't come with no mess. It won't be no mess. Let's just move forward, right? Let's just move forward. Now, they agreed to it. They know how the game goes. They agreed to it. Said, yeah, GD that, folks. We're going to move on there. No hard feelings. You feel what I'm saying? We shot our shot. He ain't stupid, but he didn't really know which way they were going to go with this. Because you think about it, what can they say? What can they say? Can they go to the fam and tell the fam that he's really not the folks, that they really didn't put him down the way he's supposed to be put down? Can they do that? No, because they were the ones that orchestrated it. So they can't do it that way. They can't do it that way, but they were intent on doing something to cause him pain, to get him out of that spot, because he's the only one that can really hurt them. So they started spreading rumors. They started spreading rumors on him, saying that he paid his way in. You know, they still have a few brothers that mess with them. See, these brothers, they get high too. So they looking at it like, wait a minute. If he finds out that we're getting high, we're going to end up getting the same thing that Benny and Tony got. So birds of a feather flock together. So they tried to figure out how they could use these brothers to spread these rumors, backbiting, to undermine the new nine. Now, the new nine, David, he picked one of those younger brothers to be his number two. The ones, you remember when I told you the first two that he approached about putting in work, you know what I'm saying, and getting rid of some of that dope when they had that pink, you feel what I'm saying, them flakes, you remember that? Okay, it's one of them brothers that's his number two now. And they are not just loyal to him because he broke bread with them, they genuinely like him. And the majority of the family genuinely likes him. But he pulled them in the room, right? He pulled his whole membership, not the whole membership, but he put all the POAs into a room. And he told him, he said, look, man, I never wanted to be a gangster. This takes a lot of nerve for him to say this, but this is what he said. I never wanted to be a gangster. Benny and Tony put me in a position where if I didn't do it, they was going to run me off the compound. They did this to me because I got that work. I told them I didn't want to be a gangster. That didn't mean I wouldn't mess with them, but they wanted to control me. He's coming all the way clean, right? He's telling them the whole business. Telling them the whole business. Because he feels like if I tell him now, get it out of the way, we could move forward. But he also had another agenda. It was a naive thought, but he didn't know it at the time. He felt as though if he told the fam the truth about the business, how he became the business, that they would let him go. That ain't how it worked, y'all. That ain't how it worked. You did have some questioning, but mostly they admired him speaking out like this. But they said, look, you the business now. That's on that. You the business. But see, David wanted out. But it ain't no easy way out. And he asked him, how can I get out? And they were honest with him. Man, it's hands-on with us, man. And then he said, it ain't no situation where, because you ain't been in long enough, it ain't no situation where it won't be violent. They telling him the real. You stuck. So when these rumors start to surface from these other brothers spreading them and trying to undermine him, talking about he paid his way in. He bought his way in. Now you got some brothers like, is he telling me the truth? Did he say this because he knew this was coming? Which David didn't know this was coming. But he did make the right decision by telling everybody what was going on. So now you got the family split. And when the family split, it's never good. Because to bring the family back together is going to be blood spilled. It always is. It always is. Because you're going to have people taking sides. And these brothers are going to be taking sides. Some of them are going to be right, some of them are going to be wrong. But at the end of the day, somebody's got to win out. And this is not about diplomacy, man. This is about who hits the hardest and the fastest. And David, even though he had these plugs, he wasn't built that way. He was a smooth operator. He could strategize and manipulate and move things around. But as far as wartime, nah. He wasn't that dude. Again, remember, he never wanted this life. He never wanted anything to do with it. He wanted out. He wanted out. And even though he had about 6 or 7 years left to do, he still wanted out. But he didn't want out at the cost of his life. He hadn't been in long enough to retire. He hadn't been in long enough to plug out. They wasn't going to let him. So brother and them just told him, said, look, stay in the position you in. We'll run everything. Just lean back and you're going to be okay. We'll make sure don't no harm come to you. But here's the thing. Even though those brothers messed with him, everything comes at a cost with TD. Everything. Even peace. Because they told him, bro, as long as you keep, dropping that dope off like you doing, and everybody eat, ain't nobody going to let nothing happen to you. See, they let him know that they respected what he said, but this wasn't about honor. This wasn't about honor. This was about being able to eat. And he started to realize that. And he started to resign himself to the idea that he wasn't getting out. There was no way out. So when he went to visit, he talked to his girl about it. And she told him, look, what's your options? You get out, you pay. Go through it, let's get through with your sentence, get out, and then we move on with our lives. And he tried to explain to her, Even when I come home, they gonna be there. With this life, you got to get at least 20 in to return. So it ain't no easy way out for him. So he's depressed now. He's depressed. So he starts to think, how can I manipulate my way out of this? If I can move things around with this dope, why can't I move things around to the point to where they'll put me out without beating me up? What would it take? How much would it cost? How much would it cost? So he was scared to ask that question because he didn't want them to think if he was willing to buy his way out, then maybe what Benny and Tony was saying was true, that he bought his way in. So he didn't know who to ask this question. He didn't know who to ask this question. Now you remember when I told you earlier that he had went to the Crips and the Vice Lords to try to get them to take some money to protect him? You remember that? Well, check this out. This is what he did. Because you got a lot of people don't understand what I'm about to say. A lot of people be, you know what I'm saying, jumping from gang to gang and doing this and doing that, right? You know what I'm saying? And the organizations allow it at a cost. They allow it at a cost. You feel me? But even if he were to go to the Crips or the Vice Lords and join them, he's still in a gang. He doesn't want to be in a gang. So he thinks that he can go to them and say, look, I'll pay you. I'll leave GD, I'll come to the Crips, and then you put me out. What he didn't understand is that you still going to be in the penitentiary. This is not like the military where you get discharged and you go on with your life. If you don't walk out of this thing in good standing, you risk losing your life, man. That's just what it is. So he was trying to figure out, how do I get out of this in good standing so that I don't get hurt? And the conclusion was that he can't. He can't. So David made a decision to become the worst of the worst. He was harder than everybody else, meaner than everybody else, and he meant it. Because like he told me, now I talked to him, he's out now, y'all. He's out. And he's no longer involved in the business. But like he told me, he said, I became the worst gangster that everybody had ever seen. If you came in front of him with a violation, off with his head. He meant it. He kept breaking bread because he was getting money. But he stopped giving the love prices. Except for to the two that he originally started doing business with. He said he wasn't going to let nobody take advantage of him. If he wasn't going to be able to control his life, he was going to control theirs. They needed him more than he needed them. And he started to realize that. And when you're a part of an organization and you give all of yourself over to it, what you don't understand is that you're submitting to that. You're agreeing to whatever it is that they want to do to you. Your whole self-worth, your whole being is attached to what it is that you belong to. And David refused to do that. He refused to do that because he was not going to be beholden to anybody. He didn't want to be a part of it. They made him stay, so he was going to do it his way. And he learned how to manipulate brothers at other facilities so that when brothers come to the facility that he was at, he was going to be okay no matter what. He did spread dope all around the state, but while he was doing that, he made sure that everybody understood, I'm not playing no more. If you want to eat off my plate, you're going to do it the way I want to do it, or we don't eat. And that's when they started to understand we need him more than he needs us. Using the organization to manipulate people out of their lives, out of their decisions, out of their choices. It didn't work with him anymore. And that's what most people in the organization don't get today. They don't get that. That the organization needs them way more than they need it. But they don't want to believe that because they don't believe that they are somebody without it. That's what they don't believe. They don't know how to get to that point to where they mean something to themselves and to anybody else around them. They don't understand how to do that yet. So they continue to live in that false narrative where they think that the organization makes them and not them making the organization. But David knew better. He wasn't on that no more. And he was not giving his life over to that anymore. Yeah, he was stuck as far as being a gangster while he was still here. But he decided he was going to do it on his terms. The piece of paper, all the things that he read, all the lit that he read, he said, I'm not going by none of that. I'm not going by none of that. I remember one time I was talking to him, he said, man, I ain't never met none of these people. But I decided to live my life by what they say. Nah. He wouldn't do that. He wouldn't do that. And because he had that plate, because he had that bag, he was allowed to do what he wanted to do. He wasn't a bad person. And he didn't become that bad of a person. He just got tired of being used. And that's what it takes. You got to be tired of being used, people. You got to be tired of being a co-conspirator in your own demise. And until we understand that, no matter who you are, what background you come from, until you understand that about yourself, you're going to continue to wallow down in the mud. And you're only going to get dirtier. Now, David, like I said to you a few minutes ago, it wasn't too long ago I talked to him on the phone. And that's why I'm doing these episodes. Because after I talked to him, I got to thinking about how he broke his story down to me. And how relatable what he went through is for a lot of people. You don't have to be in a gang to be a co-conspirator in your own demise. You can be in a marriage. You can be in a relationship. You can be in a friendship. You can be a member of the community and doing things that you have no business doing that are not in your best interest. Not to mention the people around you. You have to continue to look forward, not backwards. Stop being a part of the genocide that's being taken place here. You got to continue to believe. You got to learn to first believe that you are somebody. And then you got to continue to believe that, because nobody's going to pat you on your back and tell you how good of a person you are. They should. I will. I think every one of you is special. Way beyond what you can possibly understand. Because you, all of you, help me understand that I matter. Don't get it twisted. I knew that I mattered before I started doing this show, y'all. But the response that I get from y'all, the comments that I get from y'all, reinforces that. It validates it. It confirms it. It confirms it. So let me do that for you. Let me confirm to you that you are somebody. You are somebody. Let the works that you do in your neighborhood, in your family, in your relationship, demonstrate the faith that you have. The positive works. Contributing. Caring. Giving hope to other people. Like y'all do for me. Now, I ain't finna go there. I was getting ready to do my Jesse Jackson. I ain't gonna do it, though. I ain't gonna do it. I ain't gonna do it. I ain't gonna do it. But I'm gonna get on down. Because this has been a good one. I hope you enjoyed this whole series of GD manipulation. I've enjoyed doing it. And listen to me. David You know that's not his real name, okay? He listens to the podcast. So say some things to him. Tell him what you really think. Encourage the brother. Let him hear it. Let him hear it, y'all. Don't forget to check out the book, y'all. In the comment section, hit that link. And the move is coming, I'm telling you. The move is coming. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. And I say peace, y'all.